Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. Um, this episode offered very little to nothing. And I don't like to be a negative Nancy or whatever you want to sit there and call somebody who's negative all the time. I don't. But the most entertaining part about this episode was the police station with Rafe, Sloan, and Leo. It's amazing to me that Sloan isn't there giving Rafe so much attitude. And I'm like, weren't you the chick that was sitting there just sleeping with a guy who couldn't even bother to remember your name? And yet you have the audacity to sit there and give this man smoke like, boo, really? So I'm already not a fan of hers. But after they go back and forth, like they known each other for years, I'm like, oh, cool, all right. How even sit there and describe this scene? At first, this chick act like, oh, well, you don't really have anything against us, and, the word of an ex-con and a child doesn't really mean anything. And Rafe just lays it down simple. Listen, we got DNA evidence that says he was there. And you know what? We'll just let the jury decide. Before that happens, you know, Leah, well, first of all, she was pissed off. Here's the thing. Lawyers don't like being surprised. Okay? It's not a good look for them. It a lot of times with these negotiations it's about confidence. And it's hard to have a certain level of confidence when you're going into a situation blindfolded, you know? So he kept going back and forth like, oh, should I sit there and tell? I don't really want to tell, and yada, yada, yada. But finally, towards the end of this scene, he's like, yeah, I'll sit there and name names. And of course, he didn't say who he named, but we all know it was Gwen, because towards the end of the episode, um, not only did he sit there and track down Gwen when Gwen was talking to Sarah and Xander, but he also had the mask too. So now, granted, they don't have a murder weapon. Okay, yeah, they have the Sarah mask probably in her area where she was living. Um, that's pretty much about it. You know, yeah, they have motive. They have a mask. That's gonna have her DNA on it. Okay, but you still don't have the murder weapon. That's gonna have her fingerprints on it. So in all reality, they don't really have that much. You know, I mean, hell, Leo could just said just to throw them off. I mean, who knows? Um, so I'm looking at that towards the end, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So they got, they got the mask, and he tracked it down and everything like that. In retrospect, I'm just like, they don't really seem like they have that much. Um, but I guess we'll just have to sit there and wait. Uh, Stephanie's in town, and two reasons why she's in town. One, because of a job offer. Two, she wants to sit there and see her parents. But this is after the whole gun scene and him telling her that, Arthur's in town, you need to be careful, you need to go back to, Seattle. And she's like, no, 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 I got, a job interview, or I got to meet a client that's very private, that's not getting enough information. And Steve was like, that's Orpheus, And he tells her that he wants to put Orpheus down, but now she's all like, no, don't do it because, you don't want to go to jail and yada, yada, yada. And I get where both of them are coming from. I do. And I get the idea of not living in fear. But I feel like they're just kind of not taking it seriously. Like, it's just, oh, it's just obvious. Yeah, he's out. He's not going to do anything. I whatever. And like, he's not gonna sit there and jeopardize his parole. You mean he's not gonna get caught? That's what you should be sitting there thinking. He's not gonna get caught. This man is smart as hell. But both Stephanie and Kayla seem like they're just not really taking it that seriously. Um, Chad was in the doctor's office because he cut his hand, and at the Hemsnit they explained to Kayla, listen, I'm not self harm or anything. I'm not doing any of that stuff. He talks about how he wants to practically kill Leo. Kayla's like grief counseling, and I'm like, listen, I don't sit there and think that counseling therapy is a cure all. Okay, it's not for everyone, and I totally get it. But the same thing that I kept harping in my GH review about Sasha and how she needs to go to therapy and start taking you know what's been going on to her a lot more serious to try to get some help. It's the same thing with Chad. You know, I mean, he's having arguments with his son. He's cutting his hand. He's out there drinking like there's no tomorrow. So when Kayla was like, you need to sit there and talk to counseling as far as grief is concerned, I'm like, you're gonna have to do something because what you're doing right now is clearly not working. And it seemed like she might have convinced him towards the end to, seek some sort of grief counseling or whatever. He met up with Stephanie and he hugged. She said her condolences, which I'm not really a fan of even Smith to say my condolences. Like I don't like that. I mean, granted, I know there's no words that you can sit there and say that's ever gonna measure up or make someone feel better. But something about the word condolences, I my condolences go out to you and your family. It's like, what is that supposed to like? I feel like it's just so standard and so it's like saying hi or bye or how's your day. It feels like there's just no meaning behind it. Sarah and Xander did absolutely nothing in this episode. Um, It really didn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't like the characters. They just didn't really do anything in this episode. All they did was, come up with theories and talk about Ava. Ava could have did it, and Leo could have did it, and all three of them could have did it. I mean, it's like they're just kind of throwing ideas to sit there and see what's going to stick to the wall. Um, and of course, that's when they ran into Gwen. But before that, Sarah was like, how about we just sit there and take what we know to the cops? I'm like, I mean, that's a good idea, but didn't y'all not take stuff to the cops the last time because you felt that nothing was going to come of it, and most likely they were just going to sit there and hide their tracks or cover it up? So why are you going to the cops with this theory? I don't know. Like again, like I said, I felt like they were damn near pointless in this episode. They really were. They were. I don't know. A lot of people like them together and stuff like that. I'm like, I like them to be actively doing something and not seem like filler. So at some point in the marriage plays, Gwen comes over and talks to Ava. Now they're talking about details that they probably shouldn't be talking about in an open space, as far as Ava, temporarily breaking Gwen out of jail to do who knows what, and he overheard that. So when Gwen left, EJ was like, yeah, so what makes you think that I shouldn't go to the cops and tell you that, and tell them that, once again, you broke somebody out? He was like, I didn't say anything the first time, pretty much because it benefited Kristen as far as Ava breaking somebody out of jail. But now it's like, I want those shares. So give me a reason not to sit there and call the cops. And of course, Ava's like, oh, snitches get stitches. And he's like, yeah, see, that might have bothered me a little bit when you were in the mob, but you're not in the mob anymore. You have no power. So again, what's stopping me from calling the cops? That should be interesting. Because that was the bit of leverage that he needed to get those shares. And it's just so amazing that both of those idiots decided to give it to him by talking about secrets and things in an open room. I don't understand that. And now, not only does he know, not only is he know Ava's secret, but what is that going to do for Gwen as far as her parole goes? So this dude got hella leverage on both of them because they were just too stupid to sit there and not have a private conversation somewhere else. And that's the thing. Neither one of them are dumb, but plot. Plot overrides common sense and logic every single time. This is the saying I've been saying for, well, quite a while actually now. But yeah, and it still applies. It still applies. Anyway, for the most part, I feel like that's pretty much about it. I can't think of anything else that really happened that was major, that was super important. In all reality, you can just totally skip this episode. If you're waiting for 8 o'clock for it to drop on Peacock or you know whatever demand service that you have, I just wait. I just saved you a whole. Well, if you're watching it on demand, then I just saved you a whole hour. If you're watching it on Peacock, then that probably saved you like a good 37 minutes. So yeah. But of course, again, if you want to watch the court scene, I mean, if you want to watch the police station scene with Leo, Rafe, and Sloan, well, with that, I would sit there and recommend because that was funny. That was literally the best part in this whole episode. And I'm so glad that they actually brought Leo on board. I really am. He adds a certain level of humor, and that is just much needed. See, I'm okay. I'm okay with Leo and some of his humor that he does, but some, the whatever humor that they think that they're having with Alex and just constantly having the shirt off, or I can't. Anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see everyone in the next video.